Up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Superman's next exciting adventure can be yours with this new Superman toy by Colorforms. 98 cents at your favorite store. Remember, it's more fun to play the Colorforms way.
History happened everywhere.
Hello, my name is Pete Goddard, and I'm here in the HHE studio with the Mr. Mixed to my Brainiac. It's Mr. Ryan Weir.
That's right. Wait, Brainiac?
You spotted that, huh? Now, listeners, you may have noticed that was not an introduction about an episode about divorce in Estonia, which you may have been expecting. But instead, for a little bit of a change, we have a super surprise for you.
Surprise!
Yes, exactly. We were so excited to hear about the release of the new film Superman, directed by James Gunn, that we decided to make a super special episode of HHE Podcast.
We sure did.
So, Ryan trekked to the Fortress of Solitude, where the Super Dersolator is stored for safekeeping, and we dersolated as a special, a place, a time, and a topic. So, Ryan, what did we come up with?
Journalism in Metropolis during the pre-crisis period. That's 1938 to 1985.
That's exactly correct. Journalism, which I can already hear you being sceptical about. This was genuine, and we're like, no one's going to believe this, but there it is. In Metropolis, pre-crisis, 1938 to 85. So, Ryan, let's get started. Why don't you grab your press pass and give our listeners the real scoop about what's in today's show?
Well, look, grab onto your press pass, people, and brace yourself, because today we're flying into pre-crisis Metropolis, where a slow news day involves bank robberies, shrink rays, and a visit from an interdimensional space imp. First, I'm going to paint a picture of the glittering skyline of the city, then show why dodging alien spores and time-travelling dinosaurs are just another commute. We'll trace how a farm boy in blue tights brought hope to the people, learn how the greatest threat to the planet came from a corporate takeover, and tail an intrepid reporter as she risks life, limb, and deadline to expose the raw racial truths of life on the city streets. It's gonna be super, man. Welcome to the city of tomorrow. Welcome to the Big Peach. Welcome to Metropolis.
Okay, Ryan, well, it's Superman. There's a lot to cover here, but why don't you just get us oriented at first? What and where and who are we talking about here?
Yeah, I've got to say, I am super excited about this episode, pun intended. But I recognise that not everybody is familiar with Superman and the DC comic universe. So let's start there before we dive down into Metropolis. Because if we're going to talk about Metropolis, then we need to first point out that it is a fictional city. It exists on an alternate version of Earth as presented in the stories published by DC Comics. Now, over the years, the description of Metropolis has changed slightly. So I'm going to be describing the city as it was presented during our time period. So that's between 1938 to 1985, not the more modern versions.
Okay.
So, Metropolis, widely considered to be one of the world's most vibrant and technologically advanced cities. It's home to roughly 11 million residents, including Superman.
He's the most notable of all of them, I would say.
But there are also other superheroes too.
Aquaman.
Incorrect. He famously lives in the water.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. The Flash lives in Central City, I know that much.
Batman's in Gotham City.
Yeah, so that only leaves... Arrow Man, Green Arrow, Green Lantern.
No,
yes,
no.
Wonder Woman.
No, none of those. Superboy, Supergirl, Power Girl, Black Lightning, Booster Gold, Steel, Skeets, The Guardian, Gangbuster, Agent Liberty, Alpha Centurion, and of course, we all know Marilyn Moonlight.
Marilyn Moon, I love her. I was intrigued by Skeets, though. He took my fancy.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this Skeets character.
In terms of location, if you're looking on a map, you're going to find Metropolis on the eastern coast of America. Now, this is the DC version of America, and Metropolis is situated on the Atlantic shoreline in Delaware, not in New York, as most people think it is.
Oh, and do the cities of New York and the cities of reality exist at the same time, or are they totally different?
You might want to consider it as America as we know it exists in the DC universe, but there are other cities too, including Gotham City and Metropolis and others.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the city has 6 distinct districts, but the classic image of Metropolis, that of the tall skyscrapers and the busy streets and the caped superheroes preventing alien invasions, that all happens within one district, which is New Troy.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
just thought it was scampered around the city in general.
No, and it's sort of modelled on Manhattan, but it's not. It's definitely in Delaware. I prepare for many angry comments. Size-wise, Metropolis covers about 2,000 square kilometres. That's around 770 square miles, Pete, which means you'd need 275 metropolises to make one France.
Sacre bleu.
Indeed. Now, the currency is the US dollar, as we would know it. English is the main language. There's no official religion, but there is actually a bunch of con artists who recently started a cult called the Church of Superman, which praises Superman as a god.
I'd be inclined to do that just for safety's sake, really.
Just in case he turns. Now, the city doesn't have an official flag during our particular time period. It does now. But there are illustrations of flags that just have a simple white M for Metropolis on a red background. So let's just say it's that.
Okay. Sounds reminiscent of Superman's cape.
Well, yes, very similar. Now, there's no official anthem either, right, for Metropolis, and so I'm going to suggest one instead. It's called the Metropolis Theme, and it sounds a little something like this. This was written in 1926 by Gottfried Huppertz, and he wrote it as the main theme to Fritz Lang's 1927 silent sci-fi film, Metropolis.
Different Metropolis, you sneaky podcaster,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Now, movies, Pete, in those days, 1927, they had to have live music played, right? It wasn't recorded and added to the film. So for the film's premiere, Huppertz had to conduct a 66-piece orchestra to play this theme.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? The film is probably logistically the smallest part of the whole thing.
Yeah. But anyway, because most movie theatres didn't have a 66-piece orchestra, every other screening of Metropolis featured different and other improvised musical scores, which meant that the theme that we're listening to now just disappeared till 2008, when the score was revived and accompanied a restored version of the film.
Wow, no, that was cool, and it was nice and was soothing and swelling all at the same time. I liked it.
All right, Pete, you know what that brings us to?
Is it Metropolis Facts?
Yeah, it's very good. Did you know that working at the Daily Planet is monkey business?
I did not know that. It sounds delightful.
Yeah, in 1966, there was a comic that was released which introduced a new employee to the Daily Planet crew. He was called Chester, and he was a chimpanzee.
Yay!
He was an office assistant, and he wore a bow tie and fetched coffee.
I think I've worked with him.
Chester the chimp. Now, did you know, Pete, it is illegal to sell kryptonite-flavoured ice cream in Metropolis?
I did not know that, but even just the flavour? Come on, everyone likes the strong, sour, bittersweet taste of kryptonite.
Yum. No, in 1969, a law was passed that required ice cream vendors in Metropolis to only sell kryptonite-free flavours after Lex Luthor poisoned Superman by selling him a kryptonite-flavoured ice cream.
Yeah, it's hot summer, you've been saving lives all day, you want an ice cream, the only flavour available, kryptonite. You're going, I'll take my chances.
I feel like it's low down on his how to get Superman list.
Yeah, you can only imagine there's a long list of crossed out options. It's like, I guess I'll try the ice cream.
Yeah. Now, Pete, of course, living in Metropolis does have its perils, as you can imagine. Obviously, it's a beautiful place to live, futuristic and stuff, but bad things can happen to you. So I've made a short list of some of the things that the population has had to experience over the years.
Go for it.
Hijacked and taken to an alternate dimension via the subway.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Infected by temporary mass amnesia.
Don't remember that happening.
Yeah, I'm just surprised you wouldn't. Devolved into cavemen.
Oh.
They were turned into cyborgs, and they were also turned into zombies too.
I mean, it makes you wonder, is it worth having a Superman around? Because he seems to be drawing trouble as much as he is solving the problem.
Well, especially when you consider that the city has been attacked by giant alien ants, attacked by a giant mutant turtle, attacked by a space ape, attacked by a creature from the fifth dimension, flooded and submerged, frozen solid, turned invisible, lifted into the air, reshaped into a nightmarish funhouse, transported underwater, transported to the time of the dinosaurs, transported 1,000 years into the future, transported to another planet, shrunk and put in a bottle, twice, sealed and put under a giant dome, also twice, obliterated with missiles and explosives, stomped on by a continent-sized elemental giant, and trapped in a ghostly void dimension beyond space-time.
It does mean you have to be particularly creative with your excuses for being late to work. You could get away with almost anything, couldn't you? Like, space ape, guys, space ape, sorry.
Space ape. Yeah, but there you go. So if you're a resident of Metropolis, you're going to want to watch out for at least some of those things happening to you during your time there.
Excellent stuff, Brian. They were some cracking Metropolis facts, and I don't want to move there, I'm not going to lie.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Ryan.
Have you seen any crimes happening?
Crimes? No. Why? Wait, why is your underwear on the outside of your trousers?
Well, because I've finally embraced my destiny.
What, as somebody who gets dressed in the dark?
No, as a superhero.
Oh, right. And what's your superhero name then? Captain Y-Fronts?
No, I'm Super Person.
Super Person?
Yep, it hides my secret identity.
Does it?
Yeah, as Super Person, people won't know if I'm a man or a woman or anything in between.
Well, that does make sense, but what are your superpowers?
I patrol internet forums, and I correct comments that use the wrong pronouns.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, the only problem is, though, I need you to be my loyal sidekick, Captain Consent.
Well, I'm sorry, Ryan, but I just can't be your sidekick.
Why not?
Because there's something I've been meaning to tell you. I'm actually your arch nemesis, Anti-Woke.
No!
That's right. I willfully misunderstand things.
No!
And I complain endlessly about having to use paper straws.
You poisonous snake!
Are you triggered, Super Person?
Oh, I'll get you, Anti-Woke!
Oh, yes, I'll see you in the comment section, snowflake. Hashtag liberal, hashtag triggered, hashtag I win. Lol, ruffle.
No! All right, Peter, well, there you go. That's the orientation done. I feel like everybody now knows where it is, what it is, and why it is. But what they don't know is the history.
The history, yes, indeed. The history is a particularly tricky one for this because the history of Superman has changed as the history of the comics have evolved. So what I'm going to try and do is tell you the story of the comics, but also how Superman's history evolved over that time. So we're going to start with the golden age of comics books, Ryan, a phrase that describes the period 1938 to 1956. And this is basically when modern comic books were first published and became really, really popular. This is when you see some of the classic characters being invented. Superman, Batman, Captain America, Wonder Woman, they're all introduced in this golden age.
Right, this is when Superman can only leap over a building rather than fly, that sort of stuff.
Actually, it's kind of Superman who kicks off the golden age of comics. So he first appears in June 1938 in a first edition of Action Comics, which is published by National Allied Publications, which is the precursor to DC Comics.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
Now, side annoyance for Judge Dursley, DC stands for Detective Comics.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say DC Comics, you're saying Detective Comics Comics.
Really? Okay, that's great.
So this comic is one where I'm sure you've seen it. It's Superman holding a car above his head.
Yeah, super expensive as well, isn't it, to buy an original one?
Well, not at all. It was 10 cents at the time, about 8 pence.
Oh.
But yes, if you wanted to buy it today, you will need $6 million, I'm afraid.
Wow.
So yeah, they
Okay.
think there's only about 100 of the original 200,000 copies that are left.
I just think of all those ones that just got screwed up and thrown away.
There might be one sitting in an attic somewhere right now. We don't know.
Yeah.
So Superman was created by two guys, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. One was Canadian, one was American, and they were both children of Jewish immigrants, and they somehow came up with the idea of a stranger landing from some foreign place and trying to fit in.
Right.
Where do they get their ideas
Yeah,
from?
right about what you know.
But now, at the start, nobody understood quite how popular this character was going to be because, first of all, it took them 4 years to find a publisher.
4 years. You'd think they would run out of publishers.
Well, they didn't, but when they did find one, they sold the rights to the character for $130.
I mean, I can see from their perspective, right? They didn't know it was going to become the
Yeah,
big
I'm
thing.
sure they had 30 other ideas that
Yeah.
didn't become one of the major global sensations. But yeah, in this first iteration, as you rightly point out, quite a lot of what we know today doesn't exist yet. Superman can't fly, but he can hurdle a 20-story building. He comes from an unnamed planet, and he grew up not in a Kansas farm, but in an orphanage after being found by a passing motorist.
Oh, okay. That is different.
Yeah, so then 1939, there's a Superman newspaper strip. So Superman is sort of a property that appears in bunch of different places. And Siegel and Schuster in this newspaper strip developed the origins a little more. The planet Krypton gets a name. Mm-hmm. Superman himself gets a name, Kal-El, but it's just an L, it's not E-L in that point. 1939, later on, Superman finally gets his own comic book title and, consequently, a few more details of his history. Now there's a couple named the Kents who find him.
Okay, so was Clark Kent not in Action Comics? It was just Superman, or did he still have the dual identity thing?
I'm not exactly sure. So, all I know is that the family were introduced in 1939, right. But yeah, and this is also the time where his mother gets her first name.
Martha!
No, it's Mary. He starts out with a mother named Mary.
Why did you say that name?
Classic. So, 1940 now, Superman gets a radio show, which also introduces some new Superman notions. Now he's able to fly, and he's got a weakness to kryptonite. So that came from radio show.
From a radio show. I love that, though, isn't it? Like, that these things get taken on board and then adopted in other medium.
Exactly, and it's interesting to see this character's history evolve, which is why doing the history, there's no definitive version, is it? It developed over time. 1942, one of the writers of the radio show called George Lowther makes a novel called The Adventures of Superman, and that's where Clark's parents are farmers now. Previously, he'd been growing up in some unknown city. And of course, his parents' name at this time are...
Martha and Pa.
Eben and Sarah. Eben and Sarah came.
Wow. Eben?
Yeah, I know. There's some animated shorts by Fleischer Studios, which also show Superman flying, and some places will tell you that that was his first flying, but it was apparently the radio show, in fact.
Wait, the radio show showed him flying?
Well, he described him flying.
Oh,
He's flying around now. Look at him fly.
Wow. Zoom.
The effects were mostly oral. So then there's another reinvention of Superman's origin in 1944 in the issue 101 of More Fun Comics, not to be confused with the failed title Less Fun Comics.
Yeah.
So this changes Krypton from a planet where everyone was superpowered to actually explaining Superman's abilities by a change in the gravity between the planets. So the reason for his powers changes.
This is amazing how it just keeps on evolving. They just keep adding to the lore.
Yeah, and it keeps going for quite a long time too. 1948, there was a serial for the movies. 1950, in a comic called Superboy, issue 12, Superman's mother gets renamed again and she becomes...
Martha!
Martha with an E. Martha.
Martha.
So 1 year later, 1951, in Adventure Comics number 169, she finally gets called Martha Kent with an A, as we would recognise today. So it took her quite a long time to get a stable name, that poor lady. Now, on our screens in 1951, we also see the first full-length Superman movie starring George Reeves. This is a black and white movie called Superman and the Mole Men.
I wonder who he fought.
Well, I assume it's him trying to maintain his lawn.
Yeah.
Mole Men! Okay, so Reeves then continues the role makes it quite famous in a TV series, which starts in 1952, switches from black and white to colour in 1955.
That must have been an amazing thing, seeing him in all his bright colours.
Yeah, and so far so super. Then things are going to get tricky in the world of comic books. In 1954, an American psychiatrist named Frederick Wortham published a book called Seduction of the Innocent.
Oh.
Ooh, it sounds like a saucy novel about a loveless marriage and a handsome, sweaty stable lad,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
Yeah, what's this got to do with it?
It was in fact a treatise that suggested that comic books were harmful and a serious cause of juvenile delinquency.
Oh, I see. It's bad for you.
It is bad for you. So the US government forms the Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency to discuss the pressing matter of comic books.
See also rock music later, video games, horror movies.
Anything other than actual helping people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a bit of sense that there's government regulation might be coming. So the comic book publishers band together and they create the Comics Code Authority, the CCA, to self-regulate the content of comic books. So you will see on a lot of old comic books a little sort of stamp icon that's approved by the CCA, and that's why that was.
So censors.
Self-censoring, yeah.
Self-censoring, okay.
But the funny thing is, this was weirdly good news for superhero fans, because actually superhero stories have been declining over the decades, and horror and crime and romance were becoming more popular. So the sort of more clean-cut, safer, more tame superhero stories actually became much more common. So the reduction in all those other more scandalous juvenile delinquency causing comic books actually meant this self-censorship was really good for superheroes.
Fantastic.
So this gives us a key moment. We end the golden age and enter the silver age of comics. So we're talking 1956 to 1970 now.
Okay.
So during the Silver Age, comics become a bit more science fiction-y, and for Superman, he continues to evolve. He now has his powers attributed to a yellow sun instead of gravity, to compare with the red sun of his own planet Krypton.
Okay.
But it's also, with I've got to be honest, with the limitations on this dark content, things get a little bit silly, I would have to say.
Is this the time where it really starts to go a bit lunatic?
Yeah, so here's a few examples. Crypto the Super Dog is introduced in 1955.
Yep.
1958, Superman gets turned into a lion.
Yep.
He marries a mermaid called Laurie Lamaris in 1960 after being turned into a merman, obviously. It's not sick. And he also develops new powers, including super hypnotism and super ventriloquism.
I think this is the period also where kryptonite came in different colours.
Oh, yeah, it sounds
They started
very
to introduce
plausible.
those. So where green kryptonite would kill him, red kryptonite would make him like angry. And then there was
really?
like blue kryptonite, which would do other things. And yeah, and then I think there was one that would make him crazy and lunatic, and he would just do silly things.
That tracks. So, I mean, this is the 60s. Everything goes bonkers. And DC manages this weirdness in part with the concept of the multiverse. It's lots of different universes in which different stories happen. So anyway, the Silver Age oddness kind of gives way to darker, more real-life stories, everyday themes, racism, drug addiction, social concerns and stuff like that. So in the early 70s, we lead into what is now known as the Bronze Age of comics.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because it does sort of reflect the times.
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting because it is the history of society.
Yeah, it is. It's the history of society. You're right.
Exactly. But so this is the Bronze Age of comics. But outside of comics, there's a really significant development because Superman comes back to the big screen in 1978 with an unknown young actor called Christopher Reeve portraying the Man of Steel.
The man himself.
I mean, that is the classic movie. It was one of the first movies I ever saw. It was one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time, with the tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly."
And you did.
We already believed it because we heard it on the radio, but that's another story. It had great special effects, and it resulted in the beginning of that classic Superman theme.
You now can't do Superman without referencing that theme.
Absolutely, it's so embedded, isn't it? The movie resulted in 3 sequels of, I would say, declining quality, which takes us all the way up to Superman 4, The Quest for Pete, which scores currently 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's not a good one. I think that one,
Not
talking of
great.
social commentary, that was about nuclear war, wasn't it?
It was. It very much was. Now, back to the comics. There's a new editor in town, Julius Schwartz, who scales back Superman's power, brings more human-scaled stories, making Superman a bit more introspective as well. So a bit of a change from the sort of Power Man thing to more, let's talk about society.
Which is the interesting part of Superman, I think. Yeah,
It is.
because when you have somebody who's impervious to everything, what's the thing that's going to get him? It's his emotions. It's the people that he cares about. It's that's the interesting stuff.
Exactly. And there is a limit, though, to how real you can be. In 1978, Superman defeats an invasion of Earth by having a boxing match with Muhammad Ali.
That makes total sense. You see, grounded.
Real stories, Ryan, about people and real issues. Because of the multiverse, we got Superman in Earth 1, we got Superman in Earth 2, we've got visiting Supermans from other universes as well, and that same multiplicity is happening across all of the characters in the DC stable. Problem was, that led to basically a massive, confusing mess of characters and stories, what was happening where newcomers couldn't really pick up a comic and know what was going on because it was this wild ride of like, where is this one happening? What universe am I in?
Yeah.
So this was a time where Marvel Comics was really outperforming DC, so they went, right, we need to do something here.
Okay.
We need to tackle this chaos of different stories and threads and universes, and a DC writer called Marv Wolfman created an event in the DC multiverse which ran across all of their comics called Crisis on Infinite Earths.
That's such a great idea.
It's a really good idea, really creative way of tackling that, yeah. So this ran from 1985 to 86, and in this, the Anti-Monitor, who's a cosmic being, wants to destroy all positive matter universes, which leads to a mega multiversal team-up. Superman of Earth 1 and Superman of Earth 2 pop in, there's massive battles, there's major character deaths, no spoilers, and at the end of it, there is a single, coherent DC universe.
That's fantastic. Because what they could have done is they could have just gone, right, we're just starting from scratch. They just stopped the stories at that point. But it keeps everybody engaged, and those people that have been reading for a long time, they can continue, and you can bring new people in too. It's genius.
Well, I have a treat for you coming up, if that's what you're wondering. But this event is a turning point, not just for DC, but for comics in general, because actually it's generally considered the beginning of what we now refer to as the modern age of comics.
Okay.
So there's not a really huge distinction between the Bronze Age and the modern age. It's still real stories. But this event was considered so pivotal that it kind of marks the eras of comic books in general. So then in 2006, Superman returns to our movie screens in Superman Returns, which is pretty on the nose. So Superman is back on the cultural map on screen, but back to the world of comics, in DC, sales are going down again. So in 2011, they did something pretty audacious, to be honest with you. They announced the New 52. So per what you were saying earlier, Ryan, they do just stop everything, start with 52 new titles, all issue 1. Just go, right, we're going to start again. They just shake the Etch-a-Sketch, basically, and go, right,
wow,
starting again, everyone. But with varying success, because the 52 new issue ones were very accessible to new people, and they got really good sales at the beginning, but they couldn't keep the momentum up. Within 2 years of the New 52, 27 of the series were cancelled.
Oh, wow, okay. That's a lot.
I know, right? That's more than half.
Yeah.
And to try and address this, they were releasing new titles as well. But yeah, 5 years after the New 52, they try and combine the reboot and bring some of the legacy stories back, and they have another event called DC Rebirth.
Okay.
So
they're just constantly rebooting the universe.
A little bit, yeah. So this though seems to have been pretty effective. I read around a little bit. DC seems to be doing pretty well, gaining market share, publishing some acclaimed comics, and one Reddit user, to quote someone, said, of the current Superman run, I seriously think we are witnessing one of the best Superman stories ever. So I guess he's still in hot demand, shall we say.
Story's still story, right?
Yeah, exactly. But then back in the movie theatres, Zack Snyder takes over duties on the DC Universe, directing Man of Steel in 2013, starring another unknown actor called Henry Cavill. That did all right. It made $668 million worldwide. But now, James Gunn, the director of box office smashes like Guardians of the Galaxy, has his turn to take the helm and deliver the latest taste of super action. Is the movie good? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. But does it feature Crypto the Superdog? Yes, it does, if the trailer is to be believed. So for that, I am in.
Yeah, it seems to be a return to like the more wholesome side of Superman, a sort of slightly more fantastical side as well.
A little bit more fun, it looked to me. I'm very excited about it, and I look forward to seeing it.
I think the world could do with a bit of hope, so maybe it is the time for Superman to come back.
Save me, Superman.
Morning, Gustav.
Oh, no. Good morning, Mr. Kent.
I have an item that requires urgent dry cleaning.
The same one you bring in every week?
Yes, that's right. The totally normal, everyday red and blue suit. You know, the one with the big S on the front. And the cape.
Yes, sir. Perfectly ordinary.
Totally.
And will you be needing any repairs this time?
Funny you should mention that. Yes. I was doing some totally normal human things the other day, and I accidentally got laser burns on it.
Of course, sir.
And some green blood.
Green blood?
Anyway, I'll leave this here, and you just do your thing. And I'll be back to pick it up this afternoon.
Well, it will take a little bit longer than that, Mr. Kent. After all, I'm not Superman.
Ha! No, but I mean, I suppose actually you could be though, couldn't you? After all, the Man of Steel's identity is a well-kept secret, isn't it? So unknown to anyone. So, I mean, it could be you. I mean, it could be me. I mean, obviously it's not me. I mean, I'm not Superman, obviously.
Right.
Anyway, gotta fly. I mean, run. I mean, I can't fly, obviously. So, yep, gotta go. Bye.
Margaret, can you fetch the super detergent? That Superman's been in again. So, Ryan, we know where we are. We now know everything about Superman and his many mothers. But I think you would need to tell us something about journalism in Metropolis.
Because we're not talking about Superman, are we? We're talking about journalism in Metropolis during pre-crisis.
It was a very convenient topic, though, was it not? Given Superman's day-to-day job, his 9 to 5.
Yes, Clark Kent, famous for being a reporter. So I think we've been very lucky at falling off feet with this one. No one will believe it, but it really is genuinely true. Okay, so yes, the skyline of Metropolis, it features several famous buildings. There is the Emperor Building. There's the LexCorp Tower, owned by evil Lex Luthor.
Boo.
Exactly. There's the News Time Building, which you might not have heard of.
I've not.
National News Time magazine, which is secretly owned for several years by Lord Satanus.
Oh, he might want to think about his personal branding.
He was in disguise as Colin Thornton.
Well, I'm convinced.
Yeah. Anyway, but by far the most famous building in Metropolis is definitely the Daily Planet.
Oh, big globe on the top with a Daily Planet revolving around it. Iconic.
Exactly. It's a large Art Deco style building with that distinctive giant golden globe on the rooftop. Now, the Daily Planet is located in Metropolis's downtown district in New Troy at the corner of 5th Avenue and Concord Lane.
You've got to say the corner of 5th and Concord.
It was first erected in 1942, the building, and since then it's been the home and headquarters to Metropolis's #1 newspaper, the Daily Planet.
I like nothing more than a coffee and a bagel with my Daily Planet.
Exactly. Now, during our time period, it's been going for about 80 years, and it's known for its award-winning reporters, its ideological pursuit of the truth in an ever-increasingly complex world.
And it's absolutely packed to the rafters with fast-talking wisecrackers.
Yeah. Now, originally, it actually started out not as the Daily Planet. It was originally called the Daily Star.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but only for a couple of months, because then it changed to the Daily Planet. But since then, through wars and depressions and the arrival of Superman, of course, the Daily Planet has dominated Metropolis's media. Now, much of this time period has been overseen by their editor-in-chief, a guy called Perry White.
Perry White! Yes, of course.
He oversees the creation of a dedicated team of reporters that include Lois Lane. He gave her a job at 15 years old.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was a different time. And Clark Kent, of course, a mild-mannered farm boy from Kansas who always seems to be able to land an exclusive Superman interview.
Which is odd because you rarely see them in a room together.
Exactly. If ever, yeah. And then, of course, Jimmy Olsen, an eager young photographer who's
bullied in the workplace.
I also looked it up because I thought, well, he can't just have those three. There must be other people that work in the Daily Planet. So I've got some names here of other people that have canonically worked at the Daily Planet over the years.
It's not Skeet again, is it?
Yes, Skeet. No, there's Bill Stoker, Brad Hunter, Connie Hatch, Freddie Jones, Jack Riley, Jack Smart, Jamie Gillis, Justin Moore, Tom Weaver, Wendell Walters, and someone called Dave. Dave never got a surname. He's a crime columnist, and you just see his name just listed. And
maybe he's like the Kylie of Metropolis. They're like, Dave? Oh, Dave doesn't need a last name. If you follow crime reporting in Metropolis, why would you need to know? It's just Dave.
Yeah. And of course, Chester the Chimp. Let's not forget.
Oh, yeah, let's not forget. Yeah. Great coffee.
Great coffee. Now, the paper gained a reputation as the city's voice of truth, and it won awards for its investigating and exposing corruption, organised crime, and supervillain plots. And of course, they were the first to cover Superman's first appearance in the city. But by the late 1960s, the media landscape is changing, and the paper is starting to struggle. Readers in Metropolis are swapping their paper for televised news, for the TV.
Oh.
They're watching broadcasts on networks like Lex Luthor's WLEX TV and WMET TV, and of course, WGBS TV, all of which were offering news channels. Now, it's in this new modern technological age that the Daily Planet, for all its prestige, all of its history, finds itself struggling to adapt. And that, Pete, is where Morgan Edge steps in.
Dun, dun, dun. Who's Morgan Edge?
Well, that's a good question. Who is Morgan Edge? Well, he's actually Morris Edelstein.
Oh.
Yeah.
But not Johnny Satan.
Lord Satanus. No, he was born Morris Edelstein, but he takes the name Morgan Edge later. Starting with nothing, he works hard, he gets himself enough money for a deposit to borrow some money from the bank, and he uses that to buy a struggling television station in Albuquerque.
Oh, wow. I was not ready for Albuquerque,
No.
I must admit.
Yeah, not me. Now, he has this really keen vision of what he wants to do with this TV station. And so, slowly, Edge turns this failing TV station in Albuquerque into a huge success. Everybody's watching W Albuquerque TV, right?
WAQQ.
Yeah, exactly. Now, he's keen to repeat that success, so he borrows more money, leverages the TV station in Albuquerque, and he goes on a small spending spree. He buys up other failing TV stations across multiple states until eventually in 1970, Morgan Edge is now considered one of the most powerful media figures in America.
Ooh. Ooh.
And get this, he's only 42 years old.
Oh, he's done well, lad.
Now, he has WGBS TV, which is his flagship station, and he opens that in Metropolis to great success. And Edge starts to expand his company's reach further. He introduces Galaxy Broadcasting Radio and also a sensationalist gossip magazine called Now Magazine.
Isn't there an actual Now magazine?
Yeah, yes, there is, yeah, in the UK. Yeah. But ignore that, because Edge got there first. But what Edge and Galaxy Communications, which is the name of his business, didn't have was a newspaper. And the decline of the Daily Planet was just too good of an opportunity for him to pass up on. It had brand recognition, it had talent, it had an awards cabinet, and it had a good reputation. And so, in the spring of 1971, Edge makes his move, he approaches the board, and he offers to buy the paper for $72 million.
Bargain.
And Morgan Edge and Galaxy Communications become the new owners of the Daily Planet.
I'm sure he's a great guy and everything will be fine, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done well with his other businesses, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And so, he wants to make changes, Pete. Within weeks, the Daily Planet is under extensive renovation. There are construction crews all over the building, and they're transforming it into this new multimedia powerhouse. Typewriters, printing presses, they're just thrown away.
We don't need that stuff. That's old news.
We need television cameras and broadcast equipment.
I thought he wanted a newspaper. He's not consistent this
No,
time.
but he wants it all in the same building, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yes, he turns the Daily Planet building into WGBS Television News Studio. Now, Perry White is just watching as the paper he's built up over the past few decades is just ripped up in front of him. But as shocking as these changes were, Pete, Perry White is not yet ready for Edge's next change. Because what he's going to do next will shock you.
Kryptonite cameras.
Yeah, no, he removes the Daily Planet globe from the rooftop.
No!
It's true. And it's said that Perry White stood on the sidewalk the day that it came down and he wept as a new, sleek, modern sign that said Galaxy Communications replaced it.
Ah, it's the end of an era.
But Morgan Edge's vision doesn't stop there, Pete. He wants synergy between the different mediums, right? So he orders the print journalist to start appearing on television and the TV journalist to start writing for the paper. Okay, and so to demonstrate this new approach, Edge makes a surprising announcement. Clark Kent, the Daily Planet's mild-mannered reporter, remember, he is going to be the main anchor on the WGBS 6 o'clock news show.
Him? He's a clumsy oaf, a nerd.
Exactly. And Kent agrees. He says, I'm a writer, not a broadcaster. But Edge says, too bad. You work for me and you are the most trusted journalist in Metropolis. People need to see that face and hear that voice.
And think, that voice sounds familiar, and that chiseled jaw looks really familiar.
Yeah, but that wasn't entirely true, because what Edge didn't say to Clark Kent was that he really wanted to leverage his connection to Superman. You know, that one where he was able to uncannily get exclusive interviews from him.
Ah, that's going to make the chat show awkward, though. My next guest...
So yes, the newsroom transforms overnight. New staff are brought in. We're introduced to Steve Lombard, who's the former football star who comes in as the sports anchor, and he's like a jock, and he plays pranks on Clark Kent and tries to humiliate him in front of women, that sort of stuff.
Is there a role for Dave here somewhere?
Dave is just still Dave. Can't change Dave. And they bring in Oscar Asherman as the weatherman too. Edge also hires Lana Lang, who is the childhood friend of Clark Kent from Smallville, the place where he grew up, as his co-anchor. Why? I don't know. But he did do that. But it happened. Yes. And so the Daily Planet is taken over completely. And in its place is Galaxy Communications.
It's interesting to think this is all so pre-internet. The great threat is television.
Exactly. Yeah, 1971. Yeah, they didn't know what was around the corner, did they? But journalists, though, are perceptive people. And they've got a strong skill for trusting their gut. And when young Jimmy Olsen first starts noticing strange shipments arriving at odd hours, and Morgan Edge meeting privately with some tough-looking men, he starts his own private investigation.
Oh, and what does he turn up?
Well, he tails Edge across the city. He reads through some secret files, and he tries to track down who these mysterious visitors were to Edge's office. But his investigation is cut short when Edge assigns Olsen the job of reporting on an emerging news story in a dangerous part of the city known as the Wild Area.
I mean, yeah, fair enough, that's Croydon.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Now, this is a lawless area with biker gangs and crime.
Okay, West Croydon then, specifically.
And it's an assignment that nearly kills him, because when Jimmy Olsen arrives and he starts taking photographs, suddenly his camera explodes in his face, nearly killing him outright.
Oh.
In fact, he only survives because Superman arrives quickly and helps save his life. Now, Perry White is furious that Edge has gone over his head and sent a junior reporter into such a dangerous situation, so he goes and he confronts Morgan, but Morgan just brushes him off, saying that aggressive journalism requires taking risks.
He's right.
He is. But this isn't good enough for Perry White, and so he picks up Jimmy's investigation into Edge himself. He starts keeping track of the man's odd behaviour, and he notes that Morgan's personality shifts differently between meetings. He sometimes doesn't recognise colleagues he'd worked with for years, and sometimes he would disappear for days without explanation.
Ah, lizard man.
Okay, so the breaking point comes 3 years later. It's 1974. Jimmy Olsen, now back fit and healthy, he makes a shocking discovery in the basement of the building, where he finds some sophisticated medical equipment and 2 sets of files containing detailed biological data on Morgan Edge.
No.
So he goes to speak to a geneticist, and he discovers that while these medical files appear to be identical, there are some subtle but significant differences. Basically, these files prove that there are, in fact, 2 Morgan Edges.
No.
Yes, the man running Galaxy Communications isn't the real Morgan Edge. He's a genetic duplicate. A clone!
No way.
Exactly. The real Morgan Edge had been kidnapped and replaced before the takeover of the Daily Planet.
I'm shocked.
But prepare yourself, because this is where things get a bit more weird. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes a bit weird after this point. Because while Jimmy Olsen is making this discovery about the clone Morgan Edge, Lois Lane has continued conducting her own investigation into Intergang, and she's discovered that their advanced weaponry is alien in origin.
Oh, I knew it.
Not just alien as in from another planet, though, Pete, but as in from another planet in another dimension.
Oh, that cursed, darned multiverse.
Exactly. So specifically, this is a planet called Apocalypse, which is ruled over by an evil tyrant called Darkseid. And Morgan Edge's clone is working for him.
Please tell me that Darkseid has a secret identity. It's like Nathan Hatwall.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they realise, to their horror, that every decision, every change at the newspaper has been part of a larger plan to control Earth's media and give Darkseid dominion over humanity's free will.
So to clarify, the media was taken over by the dark side. That's not plausible.
So, with this information, they seek the help of Superman, who rushes to the Galaxy Communications building just as the clone of Morgan Edge is preparing to permanently open a portal linking Earth to Apocalypse.
Right, yeah, it has got weird, you're
I
right.
did tell you. Superman and the clone, they fight, and eventually Superman prevents the portal from opening, and in doing so, the real Morgan Edge is freed from his interdimensional prison. The clone, which is cornered and desperate, is helped by Darkseid, who gives him a dose of cosmic energy that drives him into a killing frenzy, but it isn't enough, and Superman beats the clone and stops the portal from opening.
But this started out as a tale of mergers and acquisitions, and it then took a quite dramatic left turn halfway through.
I can only imagine that readers' letters were starting to come in, and they felt we perhaps need to spice this up a bit. Anyway, the next day, Lois Lane publishes the entire story. The intergang connection, the weapons smuggling, the money laundering, the political manipulation, the cloning, the interdimensional evil alien. All of it. The truth is out there.
Ham sandwiches, anyone?
But that truth comes at a consequence, Pete. The journalistic integrity of the news. Because for 3 years, Metropolis's most trusted news has been controlled by an evil alien's clone agent. Every story, every editorial decision had been compromised, and readers and journalists felt betrayed. Galaxy communication stock crashed. The real Morgan Edge was cleared of criminal charges, but was left so traumatized by his experience that he withdrew from public life completely and just handed over responsibilities to Perry White. And so, in this darkest hour, Perry White steps in and starts to rebuild. He removes the Galaxy Communications logo from the top of the building, despite the fact that technically they still work for Galaxy Communications.
Never mind that.
Yeah. And he restores the Daily Planet Globe.
Hooray!
Ah! He vets all of the staff members that have been hired by the clone, and he fires those with connections to Intergang. Chester, you're out of here!
Dave, you're all right.
And then slowly, he and the Daily Planet staff start to restore faith in the free press. They survive its darkest chapter by emerging to continue its mission to always report the truth, whether the threats come from the city streets, from City Hall, corporate boardrooms, or the depths of space itself. The Daily Planet is here, and it's not going anywhere.
Yay! And journalism was great from then until today.
It's never had an issue again.
Oh, that was good stuff, Ron. I've got to be honest, that was a tale of two halves.
I feel like maybe they changed writers at some point.
That was a great tale, Ryan. Thank you very much. I shall be subscribing to the Daily Planet. Like and subscribe.
Mr. Morgan, the new front page is ready.
Great, let's have a look. Ah, yes, very good.
Thank you, sir.
There's just one tiny thing.
Yes, sir.
This headline, Superman saves the day.
Ah, yes. A woman fell from a window and Superman flew out of nowhere, caught her, and lowered her safely to the ground.
Right, well, I love the story, obviously, but this headline, Superman saves the day, it's feeling a bit bland.
Bland, sir?
Yeah, a bit vague, a bit generous. For instance, are we sure that all our readers even know who Superman is?
Oh, well, he is quite famous, sir.
Oh, so you think there's literally not one person alive who doesn't know who Superman is?
Well, perhaps a few isolated people, sir.
Well, isn't it our job to make sure we help those people by being a bit more descriptive?
Oh, I suppose so. What did you have in mind, sir?
Well, let's get more specific. Remind me, he's not from around here, is he?
Superman? Oh, no, sir. He's from another planet.
Right. So, an alien, you might say.
Yes, sir.
Right, and he has papers, does he? This guy, a visa, a green card?
Oh, well, he's rather secretive, sir, so I can't imagine he has any official paperwork.
Right. So, how about we make this little change? Undocumented alien saves the day.
Okay, sir. I suppose that is technically correct.
Right. And while we're here, this word saves, it feels a little wishy-washy, don't you think?
Wishy-washy, sir?
Yeah, vague, catch-all. I mean, what did he actually do?
Oh, well, he flew up and he grabbed her out of the air.
Ah, grabbed. That's more like it, more active. Undocumented alien grabs fallen woman.
Oh, I suppose that works.
And while we're here, this woman, she asked Superman to save her, presumably.
Oh, she was mostly screaming, sir.
So no verbal consent was given.
It all happened very fast.
Right then, well, let's just make it undocumented alien grabs unconsenting woman.
Oh, but sir, doesn't quite reflect the spirit of the event.
But is it factually correct?
I suppose, technically.
Perfect. Now we run it. Remember, we tell the truth here at the Daily Planet.
Yes, sir.
God, I love journalism.
All right, Peter. Well, look, there you go. That is the first Journalism in Metropolis during the pre-crisis period story. I hand the reins over to you. Put on your cape and fly, fly, fly.
Well, Ryan, I have a tale for you, and this is a tale of, I assume your tale was across numerous comic book issues.
It was.
Sounds
It
like
was
a
during
big,
that time period. It was a big time period. 4 years, basically.
All right, so I've gone the other way. I have the tale of a single comic book to tell you.
I love that.
So we talked about the Bronze Age of comics, and I said they were starting to tackle more in the way of social, everyday issues.
Yeah.
So one such episode features Lois Lane's efforts to get a news story, which I think probably raises as many ethical questions as it answers.
Okay.
Now, I have to warn you, this is simultaneously quite serious, but also hilarious. So you're going to have some awkward moments coming up. But
Okay.
we're going to look back at how sensitive subjects were tackled 50 years ago. So it was a different time.
It
You
was
ready
a
for
different
that?
time. Okay.
So we're going to 1970,
Right.
and we're going to talk about race.
Good. That's right.
We're
Okay.
immediately a little bit tense here.
We are.
It's all right. Stick with
Presumably
it.
the journalistic side of how it's reported.
Well, we are going to stick with the journalistic topic because we're going to concentrate on ace reporter Lois Lane.
Hey, Lois Lane.
I do have a side note. Lois Lane was apparently inspired by a movie actress called Glenda Farrell and also another one called Lola Lane.
That seems more likely.
Well, yes, but they both played a character called Torchy Blaine in a series of movies. There's 9 movies featuring Torchy Blaine from 1937 to 1939. So you've got Torchy Blaine, Lola Lane, so you can kind of see how they may have got to Lois Lane. But rather sweetly, the creator of Superman, the writer Jerry Siegel, wrote a letter to Time magazine, and he says that Joe Shuster, the artist's inspiration for the look of Lois, came from Jerry's wife. He says, "My wife Joanne was Joe's original art model for Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane back in the 1930s, and the characterization of Lois is amazingly like the real-life personality of my lovely wife."
Oh, that's wonderful. How about
Isn't
that?
that sweet?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really nice. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Okay, so we go back to Lois Lane. So we have established that Lois Lane is a gutsy reporter. I think
She
it's
is.
fair to say.
Strong, independent woman.
She is, which we're about to find out, because this story doesn't come from Superman comic. No, because Lois Lane had her own comic title for quite a long time.
Okay, that makes sense. Why not? Spin-off.
Pretty progressive, right? Started in 1958. In the 1960s, it was one of DC's most popular titles. It was a top 10 bestseller, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, it ran all the way out to 1974. There's 137 issues. Now, this is girl power, right?
It is. During the 70s, that's good.
Tiny snag on the title, though. On the feminism front, the title of the comic was Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane.
Does Superman come and explain things to her?
Pretty much.
Superman-splain.
But she does get her own title, and in November in 1970, issue number 106 comes out, Ryan.
Wow, that's a big number.
So you run out to the newsstand, you hand over your 15 cents, and you can pick up the issue, which was rather boldly entitled, I Am Curious, brackets, black, close brackets, exclamation mark.
What?
Yes, an odd title, but I Am Curious, black. And on the cover, it's Lois Lane, but not as you've seen her before, because she is a black woman.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, she is.
I'm nervous.
So, you may have guessed it. This is a race relations issue.
Please tell
attacking...
me she's not blacked up.
Oh, no, she is an actual black woman.
Oh,
at this
okay,
point.
well, that's all right. Okay.
Yeah, well. So in the early 70s, just to contextualize this, there was an active backlash against a lot of the progressive achievements in the civil rights movement in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
There was particularly agitation against the concept of busing. Busing is where you take children from poor areas and you take them to school in rich areas because the schools are basically funded on house taxes. So if you had a lot of nice houses, you would have nicer schools. So the idea was you would bus people from poor areas to rich areas, which basically meant black areas to white areas. And the white people didn't like that, it turned out. And there was certainly a lot of backlash against that. Also, 1970 was the peak year, actually, of membership of the Black Panther Party. So that's a militant civil rights organization, which you will recognize from culture and TV. Think leather jackets and berets.
I do.
So basically, racial tensions are high. So this is a very apposite issue to have it. But don't worry, Lois Lane is on it in issue 106.
I'm sure they're going to handle this very sensitively.
Yeah, well, the comic opens with Lois Lane excitedly declaring, I've got the assignment of my life to get the inside story of Metropolis's Little Africa. I should get the Pulitzer Prize for telling it like it is.
Little Africa being like a district within Metropolis?
Exactly so, yes.
Okay.
So the, let's face it, entitled white girl Lois Lane heads to Little Africa, which is, as you say, the black area of Metropolis, to get her story.
Okay.
She jumps into a cab, heads over, full of journalistic vim and vigour.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when she gets there? Oh no, it turns out that the black people of Little Africa do not want to share their stories with this suddenly weird appearing white woman going, oh, what's it like here? They just ignore her, and she basically walks up to people and randomly starts asking them questions and is surprised when they don't really want to hang out with her.
Right. Why do they hate me so?
It's a bit like that. So then finally she comes across an activist preaching or talking on a street corner, and he spots her, and this is where the seriousness of the message and the campiness of the 1970s. He sees her and he says, "Look at her, brothers and sisters. She's young and sweet and pretty, but never forget, she's whitey."
Wow.
He adds, "She'll let us shine her shoes and sweep her floors and babysit for her kids, but she doesn't want to let our kids into her lily white schools."
Okay.
Bussing. Politics.
Right, very big politics. How does she respond?
She was like, "Oh no, I feel awkward about this."
Yeah.
But she continues trying to get the story and no one will talk to her. What's a girl to do, Ryan?
Well, she should probably go back to the Daily Planet and talk to all of the black employees that they've got working there.
Well, Ryan, that was one thing she could have done, but
Yeah.
the other thing, arguably the obvious thing to do, is to use an alien technology to turn herself into a black woman for 24 hours.
Oh, I feel embarrassed that I didn't think of that.
So yeah, and it's going to shock you. That's what she does. She says, "Superman, you know that machine you've got back in the Fortress of Solitude for turning people into other races for 24 hours?" And he's like, "Yes, where's this going?"
And
Can I borrow it?
And he didn't think to say to her, maybe you should reconsider this?
Didn't come up in the conversation.
He just went, yeah, sure, it's on the top shelf.
Yeah, exactly. So she jumps in, she flips the switch, and ping, look, she's a black woman now, as seen on the cover.
Okay.
So
Right.
Lois immediately starts to realise how her experience as a black woman isn't at all what she expected. She tries to get the same cab to Little Africa. The cab just breezes by, doesn't pick her up.
Oh.
She gets on a train. She can feel the hostile stares she's receiving as a black woman in public. But now the residents of Little Africa will at least talk to her. Now they share their stories of like rat-infested tenements and poverty, but they also offer to help her. And she marvels, "This woman lives in misery, yet she asks if she can help me." So she also runs into the street activist again. He's much friendlier this time for obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
then while they're talking, they see some local kids up to no good, and they end up confronting some drug dealers who shoot the activist.
What?
I know. Fortunately, Superman shows up.
Is Superman black?
He said, "No, he's not." He's like, "I got in the machine too. This is really fun." No, regular white Superman shows up, melts the guns, takes the bad guys away. But the activist is badly injured and he needs blood. Now, if only there was someone with a matching blood type around.
This is
Would you believe it? Lois Lane.
This is cringe.
Lois Lane is a match for the blood type.
Oh my God.
She agrees to donate, saving the man's life, right? But you know what? She saved his life, but that is the very moment time is up. She's gone white again.
Right. Okay.
So Lois is worried. What will the activist say when he discovers his new pal, his blood donor, is a white woman?
I bet he's not happy.
Well, Superman's very reassuring on this matter. He says, "Go and see him." He says, "If he still hates you with your blood in his veins,
We'll
there
stick him
may
in the white machine."
No, he says there may... He says there may never be peace in this world.
Is that what he says?
Then there follows a remarkable page with no dialogue at all. Just imagine a series of image panels.
Okay.
So Lois walks into the hospital room.
Right.
The activist looks up and sees her and he's like, because she's white, obviously.
Yeah.
Then realization dawns and he extends his hand. And then there's a close-up of two hands clasped, black and white, in friendship.
Nice.
Beautiful. This is great, but it does rather imply that the guy's looked at Lois and gone, "That looks like that black lady who gave me her blood. Oh, probably it's the same person having been temporarily turned black by an alien technology and it's just worn off." And then, oh, great, we're all friends again now.
Okay. I mean, look, we're laughing about it, but, this is progressive stuff at the time, right?
Well, this is my point. So it's a powerful ending, but it doesn't tell us if Lois ever gets around to writing an article, but, why should she? It's just a stupid comic book, right? It's just a conceit. No one would write about the time they changed race, would they?
Have they?
They have indeed. Skip to 1961. Journalist John Howard Griffin published a book called Black Like Me.
This is real life, not in DC Comics.
We are now into real life. This
Okay, go on.
This is a non-fiction book that tells his journey in the deep south of the United States.
No.
With the twist that he had his skin temporarily darkened so he could pass as a black man while he spent 6 weeks going through the racially segregated South.
Oof.
So his reasoning was that black people would never tell the truth to a white journalist, and he said, "The only way I could see to bridge the gap between us was to become a Negro." So,
but he didn't have alien technology, Pete.
He didn't. He used melanin, and did he black up? Basically, yes, but I did it by taking melanin, apparently. So in his book, he talks about the looks he gets from white people, which he calls the hate stare, saying nothing can describe the withering horror of this. You feel lost, sick at heart before such unmasked hatred.
Wow.
Big book, 10 million copies sold, and it was a significant contribution to the story of race relations in America. Now, as you say, cringe, awkward, because nowadays we've got this sense and we understand the history of blackface better and the sort of white saviour narratives. This is not such a clear-cut good thing, but as you say, it's really easy to mock these kind of clumsy attempts to address what are serious and sensitive topics.
Yeah.
And you look back at the Lois Lane comic and yeah, it is clumsy and it is funny. But it was a different time, and this is a serious attempt to address a serious issue to probably an audience of that's very likely going to be young people. And I think that has to be respected and admired for all the fact that it is kind of awkward and cringy and funny. And I'll be honest, I laughed a lot reading this comic.
Yeah, especially given its range, its popularity. Like, it was reaching a lot of kids.
It was reaching a lot of kids. So it was doing a serious thing, it was addressing, and it was, it was clumsy, but it was trying to do a good thing. It's not like it was the KKK magazine, was it? I think even perhaps a clumsy attempt to address this issue deserves our gratitude. So, Superman's girlfriend, forgot your name, I salute you for your hard work, your hard-hitting Superman-adjacent journalism between 1938 and 1985.
Amazing. Oh.
I've managed to find an online version of it, so I will put a link out on our social media. So if you want to read this episode for yourself, you are more than welcome to check it out and feel the cringe with me.
It might broaden some minds.
It might open some eyes.
Yeah.
Aren't we all just human at the end of the day?
Oi. Well done, Pete. That was a good one.
Thanks, mate.
Oof.
All right, Lois, I need you to tone down these stories on racial identity in Metropolis.
What? Why? They've been getting tons of traction.
Yes, but the way you've been going about it, Lois.
Perry, I'm exposing prejudice by walking in other people's shoes.
You've been literally blacking up.
For journalism.
You wore a burqa the week before.
Well, I was undercover.
And what the hell were you thinking going to Chinatown dressed like a geisha?
Well, that was Little Tokyo, actually.
Great Caesar's ghost. Look, I get what you're aiming for, but there are better ways to highlight injustice other than cosplaying racial stereotypes.
Well, someone has to confront this stuff, Perry.
Yes, Lois, which is why I have hired an actual black person to join the team.
Oh, really?
Yes, he starts on Monday.
To make the coffee?
No, Lois! To write! Because he's a journalist!
Right, of course. I just didn't realize they could do that.
Jesus Christ, Lois! Look, just go and do something that doesn't involve terribly offending people.
Fine. I'll go and cover this year's Disability Expo instead.
Lois, no!
So, normally, we would, at this point, turn to the Durslater. We don't have to turn to the Durslater. We've already pre-Durslated the next episode. It is Divorce in Estonia in the Ottoman Empire, which is 1299 to 1922.
Thank goodness for that long time period, Pete.
Let's see what Estonia has to offer.
Okay.
And that is it. That's our show for this week. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thank you.
Now, if you'd like to get in touch about any of the things we've talked about on the show, or if you just want to say hello, or if you go and see the movie, which you absolutely should, why don't you write to us and tell us what you thought? Was it a good? Was it bad? And what did you think of Crypto the Superdog? If you want to do that, you can reach out to us to our website, hhepodcast.com, or email Pete and Ryan at hhepodcast.com. Send us your reviews.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and you never know, if you get in touch, you might end up featured on a future show.
And if you're on Mastodon, Instagram, Facebook, or X, you can find us at hhepodcast.
And if you subscribe to those, you may get an alert every time we post extra content like facts we didn't use, photos from the show, and other Superman-related bits and bobs.
And we'll be back again soon with
The Verdict.
But until then, a huge thanks to you, Super Ryan.
And a huge thanks to you, Super Pete.
And that's it. All that's left to say is...
Up, up and away!
History happened everywhere.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Pete.
Have you seen today's paper?
not yet. Why?
Look at this. Croydon's masked vigilante reveal.
Really? They found out who Mr. Justice is?
So it says here, this paper can exclusively reveal that the masked Croydon vigilante known only as Mr. Justice is none other than local podcaster Pete Goddard.
Who?
Me!
Oh, right. Wait, you're Mr. Justice?
Well, that's what this is saying. Listen, the anonymous source close to Goddard reported suspicious nighttime activity.
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose you do go out in the evening and come back really tired, don't you?
I'm taking the bins out. Anyway, that's not all. The anonymous source added, he won't let me into his room either. I bet it's his secret superhero lair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But further proof of Goddard's sinister secret, it says, came when our anonymous source said, I've never seen him take off his glasses, not even when we're doing the podcast.
Yep, that's it. The smoking gun. You really are Mr. Justice.
Don't be ridiculous. Look, if I find out who this anonymous source is spreading lies about me, I'll duff them up.
So you're saying you'll find the perpetrator and administer justice?
Exactly. Wait, no, not like that.
I knew it. Wait till the paper hears about this.
What did you just say?
Oh, nothing. I've just got to go and make a quick call.
Another dark day in the crime-filled alleys of South London. The rain falls on the dirty streets. But justice has an umbrella, and it's open for business.
Hey, Pete, did you say something?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I must have misheard.
Ba 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 ba.
H-H-E.
Ba 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 ba.
History!
Ah, you big doofus.
Mr. Smackham!
Oh dear, I'm so hot, Ryan, I can't even tell you.
Hello, lovely YouTube folks. This is a special message just for you.
Yeah, thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Now, if you enjoyed the show, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
And don't forget to take a moment to hit that like and smash subscribe.
Hit that like.
Yeah,
Smash subscribe.
yeah, it's what people say.
Do they though?
Yeah, only the cool kids.
And you think you're the cool kids, do you?
No, we're the cool kids.
Oh yeah, I suppose we are. All right, smash that like button, people. Smash it real good.
Oh yeah, nice.